Students, you can download, we have uploaded the tudes in our website, eduzonecollege.com. So if you want, Baba, quickly download the tudes. We will be starting the session in another 2 or 3 minutes. We will be starting the session. Okay. So students, if you want to download the tudes, quickly download the tudes from our website. Quickly download the tudes from our website, Baba. So we have uploaded the tudes in the website. So quickly download the tudes from the website. So only 100 students can participate in the Baba Zoom class today. Okay, so inform your friends to join the session as soon as possible, because on in the Zoom we can have allocate only 100 students. Okay, so inform your friends to join the session as soon as possible. Student is saying, sir, I haven't registered for website, so they are asking for a student login. First of all, register in the website, Baba. There is a registration form. Okay, fill that registration form and register in the website. After that, click the student login, and after that, Baba, select the join free option. After that, you can download the tunes, Baba. It will be very useful for you. Okay, so I'll show you in between the session how to download the tunes. Also, don't worry. Okay, don't worry about that. If you know how to download the tunes, please go and download the tunes as soon as possible. So give me 2 minutes, Baba. So we'll be starting the session another 2 minutes. Okay, sorry for the delay. Okay, 1 second. Anuradha sir, classic Patangana Pulon sir.
Hari sir. Yeah. Okay, right. So there was a little bit of confusion. So I have also sent you a link, and even the Hilmisa has sent a link. So we were in two classes then. So never mind about these things. So now we will start properly once again, right? So right. Okay, right. So today I have selected one of the important headings and one of the important lessons in grade 10. So actually that lesson is very important because you know that many of the questions are coming from this lesson. Even many of the students, they don't understand this lesson very well. So because of that, they can't answer the questions. So you know that this lesson is important because exactly one essay type question is coming from this lesson as well, that few MCQs like 5 MCQs will come. So last year and the year before, the examiners have paid a lot of attention on these lessons because of this corona problem. In the syllabus, we could not complete the last chapters. Because of that, especially from grade 10, they are putting more questions. So because of that, the lesson is very, very important. If you get a proper understanding about the lesson, so you can just um, write the answers very nicely. So I have sent you one tute with questions. In the tute, there are 4 questions. So we will discuss the 4 questions. The today's program is that I'm going to introduce the lesson. Sometimes the 2 hours may not be enough to finish the entire lesson. If so, what would we do? and we will at least half of the most important part will be discussed, and then we can just discuss the questions. I'm giving you the method of writing answers, the method of giving the marks and all, and the possible questions, everything I'll be introducing. So first what we do, we just start the lesson, and in the lesson we will get a clear understanding. So I'm giving you some times to ask questions, so then you just can ask questions from me at that time verbally. If not, you can send me messages, so like that the places where you are not clear with, you can clarify. So however, now here what we do, that we will I'm going to share my screen, and right, so then now if anyone has not downloaded the tube that I have sent you, you can just can go to the website and download it and get it. So only 4 pages are there. Okay, so you just can download the tube. I'm giving 5 minutes to download the tube, right?
Students, if you don't know how to download the tube, so I'll take the screen, I'll explain a little bit. Okay.
Hello?
So can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, now that I'm in the correct link now.
Students, okay, listen carefully. So I'll explain you how to download the tube.
I'm in now.
Okay, so how to download the tubes. Okay, so listen carefully. So once you log into our website, just click the student login option. Once you click on the student login, here there is a registration form. Enter your name, email address, enter a preferred password. Better enter a number, okay, like a phone number or any numbers. Okay, enter a numerical password and same reconfirm that password. Enter your mobile number, enter your school, enter your grade as 2021 O level or 2022 O level. After that, enter the badge as what, Baba, you are year 2021 or 2022. After that, just click the register. I want to inform you one more thing, Baba. If you leave the session, mean again you can't rejoin the session, because maximum we can put only 100 students here. Okay, maximum we can put allocate only how many students, Baba? We can allocate only 100 students. Okay, so after you entering your email address and the password, okay, after you entering your email address and the 1 second, Baba. Okay, after you enter your email address and the password, just enter your email address. Already you have given an email address, no? That email address, and you should record it here. Okay, and up 1 second. I'll enter mine. Okay, after that, enter your password here. Okay, here you have given a password. No, you should enter the same password here. Okay. 1 second. Okay, so after that, just click the sign in option. Once you click on the sign in, okay, you will get a home page like this. Here, select the grade as 9, 10, 11. Select the medium, English medium. Select the subject as history. Once you click the subject history, select the lecturer Anuradha Dayaratna sir. After that, click show lesson. Once you click on the show lesson, but these are paid lesson. This is your free lesson. Okay, this is the free lesson. So here you can see an option called join free. Okay, before you click in this one, you can't see any tunes or you can't see any links. Once you click on the join free option, okay, here you can see our Baba option called join the stream. So this is the what Baba Zoom link. Okay, don't click this one now. Already now you are in the Zoom class. Okay, don't click this one again. Okay, so if you want in future, if you want to join through the website, just you can click this join the stream option, and here you can see an option called tutorials. This is your what Baba the tute. Once you click on this one, the tute will be downloaded to your mobile phone or to your what Baba to your laptop. Okay, so this is the way of downloading the tutes for the. Okay, so Anuradha sir, you can take the screen now.
Okay, sir. Okay, right now we are going to start this one, and I'm going to share my screen now. Sir, mage screen එක ගන්නකොට මොකද මම කරන්න ඕනේ sir? Alright. Mute නෑ sir. Oh. Ah. Alright. sir, මගේ screen එක මට පෙන්නන්නේ නැහැ. Alright. ඒක mute. Okay, right. Now we'll start. So I have sent you a tute like this. So I think you can see the tute. This one is the tute. I think you have downloaded it. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, that's the wrong one. Right. So we'll go to the lesson first, right? Okay, right. So then the establishment of settlements in Sri Lanka. So I told you that we are starting the second lesson. So second lesson of grade 10. Starting from this lesson, we will discuss. Actually, in the second lesson, we have to discuss about the Stone Age of Sri Lanka. So how the humans have been originated in Sri Lanka, and then after that, how they spent the Stone Age, then how they have spent the agricultural age. So only that up to the time period that they have established villages. So normally we will discuss in this second lesson. So now when we take this some of the pictures I have to show you. So these are some of the pictures that you can see here. They are related to the excavations. So normally how we find out the evidences about the early settlements, normally from the excavations. So what are excavations? Now some of the prehistoric sites. So what are the areas we call as prehistoric sites? The places where early man was living. So in those places we have to dig the ground. So like sometimes few feet we have to dig the ground down. So then we will find some of the evidences. So you can see some of the evidences here. So like here you can see some of these skulls have been discovered. Even these are some of the burials, and these are some of the implements that they have used. And like that, through the excavations only we have discovered about these people, and then only we have that studied about the information about these people, right? So when we come to prehistoric age, so what we call as prehistoric age. So prehistoric age means actually the time period which was before the past, that literary sources do not give evidences. Normally, when people started writing about the history in literary sources, we don't call it as prehistoric time period. It's known as historic time period. So we can get more information about historic time period by referring the literary sources. So the time period before the historic age is known as prehistoric age. So what are the sources that give information about the prehistoric age? Actually they were the archaeological sources. So archaeological sources like implements, maybe some of the things that we have discovered or the uncovered from the ground. So they were the archaeological sources. So books are not giving any information. So proto-historic age, so normally this prehistoric age, the time period before the history, we can divide into two sections, two main ages. What are the two main ages? One age is the Stone Age, the other one is Proto-Historic time period. So what is the Stone Age? Stone Age is the initial time period that humans have spent. So initial time period means they were using stone tools, they were living in natural caves, and they were not wearing anything, and they were eating only flesh, and sometimes very rarely they were eating some plant food items. So that is the time period that we call as Stone Age. So proto-historic time period means what? They started settling permanently in permanent settlements. They started settling in fertile river valleys, and they started growing things, doing agriculture and obtaining plant food items. And they started using burnt clay pots, and they started using metallic implements, and they started adopting proper burials. So that time period normally we call as agricultural age or the proto-historic time period. So when we come to the definition, the time period in which there was more tendency of man towards depending on herbal food. So during the Stone Age, they were eating what? They were eating flesh of animals mostly. Herbal food items they were using very rarely. But when they come to the proto-historic time period, the agricultural age, they started depending more on herbal food. That means grown food items, use of metals, and the beginning of living in permanent settlements. Now these are the major changes in the lifestyle that we can see when they move from Stone Age to the agricultural time period, Stone Age to the proto-historic time period, depending on herbal food, use of metals, especially iron, and beginning of living in permanent settlements, right? So now when we come to the spread of settlements in Sri Lanka, how the humans have been originated. We know that in the world there were four places where humans had been originated. So what do we mean by humans had been originated? According to the science, we believe that humans have been originated from the ape. So ape means like monkeys and all those animals we call as ape. From the ape, the man had been originated. So this had been happened in four places in the world. So the initial place was Neanderthal in Germany. The second place was Java in Indonesia. Third place was Peking in China, and the fourth place was Balangod in Sri Lanka. In those four places, humans have been originated. Those humans were known as Homo sapiens. The scientific name that the humans who had been originated were known as Homo sapiens. So Homo sapiens were originated in four places: Neanderthal in Germany, Java in Indonesia, Peking in China, and Balangod in Sri Lanka. So last place was Balangod in Sri Lanka. However, these humans who had been originated from the ape, they were having the lifestyle as hunting and roaming. Hunting and roaming means what? They were hunting by walking longer distances. That means they are going here and there, and they are hunting animals and eating. So when we come to Balangoda man, there were two places that we can take initial evidences about humans who had been originated in Sri Lanka in Balangoda region. So it is believed that, or it is discovered that humans had been originated in Sri Lanka before 1,25,000 years, before 125,000 years. So if they ask a question, so how old is the evidences in Balangoda regarding the humans who had been originated? So 125,000 years. So there are two places that we will find these evidences. The first place was gem mines in Ratnapura region. So when we dig down like 90 feet in Ratnapura region, so normally gem mines, we find a gravel layer. That gravel layer is called as lode. So in that gravel layer, we find evidences about this initial man in Sri Lanka. Even the gems had been found in that region, that layer. So gem mines in Ratnapura is one of the places where we will find evidences about the initial people in Sri Lanka. So however, there are two places. The evidences of this place, Ratnapura region, gem mines, how old they are, 125,000 years old. So initial place where humans had been originated in Sri Lanka. The second place was Iranamadu formation. So that's normally Hambantota region. So why we call it as Iranamadu formation? There's a gravel layer covered with sandy soil mixed with clay in the ground in the semi-arid zone in Sri Lanka. So that layer, that gravel layer, in that gravel layer also we find evidences about the initial people of Sri Lanka who had been originated before 125,000 years. However, this gravel layer had been initially discovered from a place known as Iranamadu in Sri Lanka. So that Iranamadu region is located in northern Sri Lanka. But this layer, after that also we call as Iranamadu formation. So that's why the real area actually is Hambantota. So in Hambantota region also we find the evidences about the initial Balangoda man of Sri Lanka. So now you can see the timeline in Sri Lanka. So here you can see from this picture. So Sri Lanka is spent, the man of Sri Lanka had been spending these time periods, the prehistoric time period. The prehistoric time period we just divide as Stone Age and Proto-Historic, that even early Stone Age and later Stone Age. After that, they were spending proto-historic time period. So proto-historic time period means the agricultural time period that man started agriculture. So that period also you can divide into three ages, but this division is not needed. You should know this one as the Stone Age, this one as the proto-historic time period or the agricultural age, and then the historical era. Historical era means what? The time period of the kings. So during these two periods, there were no kings in Sri Lanka. Or during this proto-historic time period, leaders had been emerged, but the historical period means that is the time period that the kings had been emerged in Sri Lanka. So after that, after 1815, when the Kandyan kingdom had been captured by British, that is known as, that time period is known as modern history. So modern historic time period. So then we'll go to this one. I told you that early humans, before 125,000 years, humans had been originated in Sri Lanka in two areas, two places. What are the two places here? One is Balangoda region. So this is Balangoda region. And the other place is Iranamadu formation. So this is the Iranamadu formation. Those humans who had been originated in this Balangoda region had been spread to here also. After that, they have been spread to 6 environmental zones in Sri Lanka. That means everywhere in Sri Lanka, you should know these 6 environmental zones where this prehistoric man had been spread. Because in the exam for structured essay questions, they are asking sometimes, what are the environmental zones that the Stone Age men of Sri Lanka had been spread later on? So normally in one of the fast paper questions, they have asked to name 3 such zones. Now we'll see what are the zones here. So these are the zones in Sri Lanka that they have been spread, environmental zones of Stone Age man. Arid zone. So why we call it as arid zone? Because no surface water. no water, surface water flow, and even here you can see very less rainfall. So that is the Jaffna region, like so the arid zone. Even in the arid zone, prehistoric man was living. Then semi-arid zone. So there are two semi-arid zones in Sri Lanka. More rainfall than the arid zone. Some surface flow of water is there, but they are also very having less rainfall and very hot. So this is semi-arid zone. Here also this is a semi-arid zone. Even in semi-arid zone, they were living. Then lowland dry zone. So this is the lowland dry zone, and this is the lowland intermediate dry zone. Intermediate means the zone between the dry and the wet. The zone between the dry and the wet is known as lowland intermediate dry zone. And then mountainous dry intermediate zone is here, the mountainous region, and the wet zone is here. So these are the 6 environmental zones that Stone Age man of Sri Lanka was living after the origination. So now I think it's very clear for you. So they have asked this one as a question. Even they have asked, normally they're asking another question, what is irregular formation? So that's a possible question. So when they ask what is irregular formation, then you have to give the definition. So that is the gravel layer covered with sandy soil layer mixed with clay in that semi-arid zone in Sri Lanka. So after that we go to this one. What are the major factors that was used to determine these zones? Annual rainfall. According to annual rainfall only, that we have selected these regions as dry or wet or semi-arid or arid. So how this time determination is done? Time determination means when we find something from the ground, when we excavate, when we dig the ground, we will find some of the things from the ground. How to find out the time, the age of that thing? So that means how old is that thing? So there's a scientific method that we use to find out the age of any of the implement found from the ground. It's known as optically stimulated luminescence. This is not needed for your syllabus because in the syllabus this is not there. So this is very important. Humans in Sri Lanka were living in a period before 125,000 years. That means Sri Lanka was settled before 125,000 years. That is the time period that the Balangoda man had been originated in Sri Lanka, but in other places in the world it was before that. And you can see some of the evidences here that we have discovered from the ground. Now we'll go to places with earliest culture. So that means here earliest culture. So I have told you that the Balangoda man normally he had been originated before 125,000 years. But you know that a culture means that after the birth of these humans, they have started building up a culture. Building up a culture means that proper evidences like skeletons we have discovered from some of the places, right? So actually we don't discover full skeletons that 125,000 years old, but we find from Sri Lanka skeletons 38,000 years old. So this is the oldest skeleton found from the South Asian region. So that skeletons had been found from Pahiangala. So this can be asked as an MCQ. What is the what place in Sri Lanka is having the oldest culture? So the oldest culture is there from Pahiangala. So Pahiangala was a place where having the earliest culture. So you should know, you should remember the time period. It is 38,000 years old. And Kuruvita Batatombalena 28,000 years old, and Kitulgala Belilena 15,000 years old. So these initial three places you should remember with the years. So this means what? The skeletons from Pahiangala that found from Pahiangala 38,000 years old. So that means there was a culture. There was a kind of environment in Pahiangala where humans were living in Sri Lanka before 38,000 years. So their skeletons had been discovered. Their skeletons had been buried underground. So we have discovered their skeletons, right? So Korvita Barthamelona, Lombalena, 28,000 years. Kitulgala Belilena, 15,000 years. Then Bellan Vendi Palasa, 12,000 years. Athanagoda Alulena, 10,350 years. Maniangala, 7,900 years. Sigiriya Potana, 5,800 years. Sigiriya Aligala, 5,500 years. Udamalla 5,330 years. and Matota 3,800 years. So you should not remember all these years, but the first four places are important with the time period. Pahiyankal important, Kuruida Batathambalin important, Kitulgala Bellan important, Bellan Benipelas important. So even the age 38,000 years, 28,000 years, 15,000 years, 12,000 years. So like that, after that, now major factors that affected for the spread of settlements. We know that the man of the Stone Age, they had very limited needs. They had very limited needs. They did not want many things. Their needs were really limited and very simple. They needed food. They needed food to live. The places where food are plenty. So food means actually the animals to hunt. So in those places, they started a settlement. If there's no animal to find for food, they did not select that place as a settlement. So availability of food, availability of water, and availability of stones to make implements, these were the major three needs that they had in their lifestyle. They wanted food to live, they wanted water to live, and they wanted stones to make their implements, because stones were the major thing that they were used as their implements. Okay, so then stones must be needed. So if food was there, if water was there, if stones were there, they selected that place as their settlement. So accordingly, they have selected two types of habitations. Two types of habitations they were using. Sometimes they were selecting cave habitations. So cave habitation means natural cave. So they were living in natural caves. If there are any if there's any place that without any cave, then they selected an outdoor camp. So they were living in an outdoor camp. So outdoor camps also they have selected. So prehistoric cave habitations and outdoor camps. These are the two habitations that they were using to live. So this is also one of the past paper questions. So in one of the past papers, they have asked what are the two types of habitations that prehistoric man were using. So then the answer is cave habitations and outside camps. Then they have asked what are the examples. So then you should be able to write examples for cave habitations and outside camps. There are two types of caves that they were using: wet zone caves and dry zone caves. So those are the two types of cave habitations: wet zone caves and dry zone caves. Outdoor camps they were using in three places. In coastal areas, they were using outside camps. In the dry zone also, they were using outside camps. In the mountainous areas also, they were using outside camps. Now we'll see the examples. Outside camps in the coastal areas. There are three examples. Vinyagalkanda, Bondala, Patirajala. We know all these places are located in the southern coast. In the southern coast, there are some outside camps, so you can't find any cave habitations in those places. They are coastal areas. In these southern coastal areas, these humans have been living. So Minihagalkanda, Bondala, Patirajavela are the examples for the outside camps in the coastal areas. Then the wet zone caves. I told you that the caves they're using both in the wet zone and the dry zone. In the wet zone, there were three places where they were using caves: Pahiyangala, Batadombalena, Kitulgala, Belilena. So Pahiyangala, Batadombalena, and Kitulgala, Belilena, they are belonging to wet zone caves. They are located in the wet zone. These caves they were using as their habitations. Then lowland dry zone caves. In the dry zone also there are some caves. The examples are Sigiriya, Aligala, Sigiriya, Potana. Sigiriya is a place belonging to the dry zone. In Sigiriya, there are two places as Aligala and Potana. In Aligala and Potana, there are caves, and those caves also they have used as habitations. So then you can see once again, outdoor camps in the coastal areas, lowland wet zone caves, lowland dry zone caves, outside camps in the lowland wet zone. Even in the lowland wet zone, they were having some outside camps. One example is there, that's Bellan Bandi Palace, and outdoor hunting places in hillside areas. I told you the outdoor camps were in three places. What? Coastal areas, and here lowland wet zone, and hillside areas means mountainous areas. In mountainous areas, outdoor camps, they were not the caves, and Bandaravel and Horton Plain. So if they ask a question, what are the two types of habitations of the Stone Age man? Outdoor camps and cave habitations. Two types of cave habitations are the wet zone caves and the dry zone caves. Now we'll come to the next one. Lifestyle. This is the very most important thing for the essay type questions. The first essay type question is based on the lifestyle, ways of living. So the lifestyle we can divide into three things. One thing, the communal life. The communal life means what? How they were living. They were living as groups, like, so that's communal life. Then the second thing is the food style. Food style means how they obtained food and how they had taken food, so that's the food style. The thirdly, the implements means they are that what they have used. So those are the three headings. So normally this can come as a question, big question. So this is a very regular question. So in 2016, they have given exactly one question related to the food style. So in the last year also, they have given a question from this section, right? So then this is a very good source for a question. So they may ask the question in this way. So explain the lifestyle of Stone Age man of Sri Lanka under three headings. So what are the three headings then? So when you write the three headings, you are writing communal life, uh, food habit, and the implement. So we will write a question related to this one later on in the paper where I have given you. So when we take the ways of living, normally hunting and roaming means men were hunting animals for their food. Normally they were walking about 7 kilometers per day to find an animal. So because animals are not plenty in Sri Lankan forest, so they had to walk like 7 kilometers a day. So that's why they were living as a small group. So here you can see they were living as a small group, normally 50 to 25 members in one group. The maximum number was 50 in that group, such a group. So normally a family with 5 members, they were using an area of 50 square meters. One family with 5 members, normally regularly they were using an area of 50 square meters. Why they were living as a small group of 15 to 25? Because of the food problem. So men have to go hunting and they have to find animals, and women, they were collecting food items nearby their cave. So that's how they were living. So what are the evidences to show? There were two evidences to show that that families were using a small area for living. So here you can see two places. One is Bandaravela, the other one is Vellanpelli Palace. In Bandaravela, there's a place called Church Hill. From that place, we have discovered evidences of 25 people from an area of 150 square meters. So this evidence you have to by heart. The place where we can get evidences about the communal life of people. And even from Bellanpelli Palace, we have discovered 30 skeletons from an area of 120 square meters. So these evidences are very important when you are writing answers. Normally how you are writing, so communal life of Stone Age man, that is the heading. For the heading also they are giving marks when you are writing. Then under that heading you have to write a paragraph. So when writing a paragraph also you are given marks. So for the paragraph sometimes they give 1.5 marks, but you have to write 6 7 lines explaining all these things. So when you write the answer, giving evidences is very, very important. So that's why we have to by heart the evidences, right? So then we'll come to this one, methods of burial. So the initial burial methods here, lifestyle. So initially when a person died, what they have done? So they have dug a small pit inside the cave with a piece of stick or a piece of horn. So see, a small pit. So you can't dig a very deep one using a piece of stick or piece of horn. So that can be done only that using that only you can dig a small pit only. Then after that, keeping the dead body in the pit and covering it with garbage. So then you have to cover it with garbage, not you, actually the people living in that area. So they were covering it with garbage. That was the initial method of removing dead body. So we call it as a burial. So burial means what? A method of the removing dead body. This evidence can be seen. So about this burial, the evidences are found from three places. One is Bellilena in Kitulgala. Second place, Bellanpelli Palace. Third place is that Pahian Gala. So how many skeletons have been discovered from Kitulgala Bellilena? 12. How many skeletons were discovered from Bellanpelli Palace? 30. How many from Pahian Gala? 9. So because of these evidences, we can guess that this was the initial burial method that they have used. So that's how you have to write this also. So when you write about the communal life, even these burials are included to communal life. So because of that, it's important to write, include this one also in the answer. When we come to food habits, so that's a main heading. Even you know that as I told you in 2016 paper, exactly they have given one complete question related to food habits. So they have asked a question: explain the food habit of Stone Age man of Sri Lanka under three headings. So under three headings, you have to write about the food habit. So then here. I will show you when writing when you are writing the answers how to divide it into three headings, even alone the food habit, and how we can divide the headings when we are writing as a full essay type question. So normally they hunted animals like these animals. So these are the animals who were plenty in Sri Lankan forests like deer, monkey, wild boar, spotted deer like. So you should not by heart everything. You can just by heart two or three, and then you can write the animals like buffalo, black bear, wild boar, deer, monkey, etc. That's it, right? So even they have used some fish, inland fish. They were known as tithya. Tithya is a very small type of fish living in wet zone reservoirs. So they have eaten this tithya as a food item because they wanted to have protein needs. So we know that fish is full of protein. So protein, to fulfill the protein need only, they have used tithya. Even carbohydrate is something that is needed as a food. So for that they have to use what? Not the animals, but they have to use plant food items. So what are the plant food items that they have used? They consume breadfruit seeds and wild plantains as main two types of source of carbohydrate. So breadfruit seeds were really plenty in Sri Lanka, so they baked these breadfruit seeds and they have eaten. Wild plantains is something that actually that's really full of carbohydrates, so they have used wild plantains. Other than breadfruit seeds and wild plantains, they were using some other food items to obtain carbohydrate. All these evidences have been given from where? Kitulgala Belile. So we have discovered some evidences about the consumption of baked wild breadfruit seeds before a time period of 12,500 years. We have not discovered that baked breadfruit seeds from that place, which is 12,500 old, but the evidences. So from the discoveries, from the excavations, we have uncovered some of the evidences. What are the other food items full of carbohydrate? Yams like katual and gonal, kitul seeds, kakuna seeds, kernel of dotilut, all those are plant food items and they provide carbohydrate. And the most famous food item of these people were oysters. Oysters means actually not the sea oysters. These oysters means actually snails found from the wet zone forest in Sri Lanka. So snails, especially tree snails and lagoon oysters. They were the two types of oysters used as food in Sri Lanka. So Sri Lankan Stone Age men. So it was the most famous food item. Sometimes they may ask a question in MCQ paper. What is the most famous food item used by Stone Age man of Sri Lanka? The tree snails and the lagoon oysters. Even they were using salt. That means without salt, they did not eat any food. So with adding salt only, they have eaten food. To get salt, what they have done? So they have gone to maritime areas, to coastal areas, and they obtained salt, and then they have moved to their settlements and they used salt. The evidences are found from once again Kitulgala Belirina about the usage of salt. So you see, many of the evidences related to the food habit of the Stone Age man of Sri Lanka had been discovered from where? From Kitulgala Belilan. The third heading when you are writing about the Stone Age man of Sri Lanka is implements. Implements means what they have used. So mostly they have used stone implements. These stone implements that they have used can be divided into three groups. One is geometric micro implements. Second one, non-geometric micro implements. Third one, large stone implements. So what do you mean by geometric micro implements? Micro means these implements were very small and the size was between 2.5 centimeters to 4.5 centimeters, very small. So why they were known as geometric? All these implements were given a geometrical shape, like a circle or maybe a kind of something elongated something, or a kind of scale, the triangle square like geometrical shape. So geometrical shape had been given very small. Because of that, we call it as geometric micro implements. Then non-geometric micro implements. So what are the non-geometric micro implements? They were not given any geometrical shape, but even they are very small, like 2.5 centimeters. When you make an implement, very small implement like that, you cannot use granite to make them. So you have to use something harder than granite, alabaster. Alabaster and kahanda stone, they were very hard stones. They had been used to make these implements. So other than micro implements, they were using large stone implements like hammer, axe, grinding stone like, and they were made with granite because large implements can be made with granite, but these small implements cannot be made with granite. Now I told you the lifestyle is a very good question. So when a question is given related to lifestyle, how it is given, now we have to discuss that one. So now what we do, we just go to that one, the question. So get ready with your tube to complete the blanks there, right? So now I'm going to uh, right now I'm going to once again share the other one. Okay, I think you can see. Right, this one. Okay, I think you can see this one. Right, so this is the question, how the question is normally given. Right, so I told you that most probably in your question paper, in your O-level paper, normally the second question is given from this lesson. So question number 2. So when we come to the structure of this question paper, you are given uh, 6 Sri Lankan history questions. Out of these 6 Sri Lankan history questions, second question is the first Sri Lankan history question. The first question is compulsory. It is included with the map marking and all those things. So because of that, you can't guess that one. But the second question is exactly from this one. So when it is given, normally lifestyle, food style, technology, and rituals are given. So I told you how it is given. The question is given in what way? So a question is given normally. The question is given normally. Write under 3 headings. So then you have to divide the and 3 into 3 headings and write under 3 headings. Okay. So before discussing this one, if you have any question, you just send me as a message. If anyone is having any question related to this one, related to the theory part. Are there any questions? Then shall we discuss the question that I'm going to give you? Okay, right. Okay, now we'll see the question. So now this is the question I told you, right? So from this one, you can be given a question. So normally, if that question is given, this is the first heading: lifestyle of prehistoric man, or even the communal life, we can say communal life or lifestyle. So now I told you, after writing the heading, excuse me, oh sir, all right, in there, sir. Hari, Hari, okay, right. Okay, now I think this is shared, right? Yes. Right. So if this question is given in this way, question number 2, I told you that prehistoric man, lifestyle, food style, technology, rituals, right? So this question you have to write under 3 headings. When you are writing the heading like this, lifestyle or the communal life of prehistoric man. Now you have to write a paragraph. So this is the method that you are going to write the paragraph. So don't write your answer in point form. When you write in the point form, normally you are not given marks. So you are given marks when you are writing this one as a paragraph. So now see, people of prehistoric era lived by hunting and roaming. So hunting and roaming means they were hunting, even they were walking for longer distances to find animals. From one place to another, gathering food. So they spent mostly a nomadic life. So what do you mean by a nomadic life? They did not stay permanently in one place. They were moving from place to place. That's why we call it as a nomadic life. During the whole year, only in rainy seasons they lived in natural caves. We know that they were living in natural caves, but only the rainy season. They lived as a small groups because of the problems of finding food. Normally one group comprised of between 15 to 25 members. The maximum number was 50. An area of 50 square meters was enough for a family of 5 members. Now, in your paper also there are some blanks. I have given you this paragraph and I have kept some blanks. Okay, now you can fill the blanks using these red color words. So this is one paragraph about the communal life. Okay, I'm giving a small time like 2-3 minutes to complete these blanks. Quickly complete and we can continue then. So this is the lifestyle. So even you can use this one as a communal life. So what do you mean by communal life? How they were living as a group. The second heading will be food style. But related to lifestyle, something you have to add. That is the burials. Even burials you add into this one. So we can't have a lot of time to complete the notes. So we'll go quickly. Otherwise we can't complete at least my aim is to complete at least 2/3 of the lesson. If we can't complete entire thing, okay, I think it's enough the time. So then we'll come to this next one. So here these evidences you have to write. The evidences you have to write. Even this is included to what? Communal life. Discovery of evidences about 25 people in an area of 150 square meters from Churchill in Bandaravela. Discovery of 30 skeletons from an area of 120 square meters from Bellanpetty Palace. So these two evidences you have to give. So when giving evidences, when you write it as a point form, no problem. But when you always you have to try to write everything as a paragraph. So during the dry season, they spend their time in outside camps, which they build temporarily in open areas. Now, this is something that you must write about the communal life. At least you must write this much to get full marks. Otherwise, they are not giving full marks. Now, some students, they don't know how to write answers. So what is the length of an answer? Like that, they don't know. Now, please write this one. The red color things you have to write, and I have provided you the space to write. So even if you have not downloaded, even later on you can just download the tut and complete these things, because this is published in the website, this recording of this lesson. In the YouTube channel you can see this. Later on also you can just once again get it and refer it. Remember, giving evidences is very important. So when you give more evidences, you are given more marks. If you want to get complete marks, exactly you have to give evidences and examples. Then only they know that you completely know the answer. Okay, this is the second heading. Sorry, first heading. Now we'll go to the second heading. The two evidences we wrote. The second heading is the food style. So when we come to food style of prehistoric man, they had consumed both flesh of animals and herbal food items. They had hunted animals like buffalo, black bear, wild boar, deer, spotted deer, porcupine, rabbit, stag, giant squirrel, mongoose, wild fowl, monkey, civet cat, python. Even they had consumed freshwater fish. If you can't remember every name of every animal, you should not write, so that you can write animals like and give some examples. Even to get starch, they ate some plant food such as wild breadfruit seeds and yams mainly. In addition, some food full of starch such as kittul seeds, coconut seeds, and kernel of dotul were eaten. Food had been eaten after being baked, so that means they had the habit of baking and eating. So wild breadfruit seeds, they were baking. Baking means actually they were putting these seeds into fire and baking and eating. So not the raw things they have eaten. And prehistoric people preferred to eat tree snails and lagoon oysters. There are evidences of using salt from Kitulgala Belilena. The evidences you must write. So evidences you can write as in point form, no problem. Discovery of oyster shells from Kitulgala Belilena. Those oyster shells were mixed with salt. Discovery of evidences of consumption of baked breadfruit seeds belonging to a time period before 125,000 years. Okay, once again, the red color things you can write quickly. So all these things I have included in the tube. So if anyone could not write completely everything, just I told you that this is once again published in the YouTube channel, and you can once again download it and refer it and complete notes. I'm not going to just give more time, right? Okay, right. So now, shall we go to the next one? So this has a lot of blanks. So I'm giving just more time to write. So I told you that when you can't remember everything, what you do that you just write some names of animals and write it like etc. of the animals like so. As well, remember when you write about the food style as a complete answer, you must include consumption of flesh, consumption of plant food items, and even consumption of salt. But I told you that in 2016 they have given the question as how. Explain the food habit of Stone Age man of Sri Lanka under three headings. So then, how to divide three headings? Consumption of flesh of animals is one heading. Consumption of plant food items is the second heading. And usage of salt is the third heading. So that's how you have to divide. So according to the question, you have to write the answer. But for writing any answer, you can use this source of knowledge. Okay, then we'll move on to the next slide about the implements. Okay. So when we come to the technology, stone tools are the only proof that exists to know about their technology. The stone tools in the small size were called geometric microstone tools. Now we know that there were two types, micro stone tools and large stone tools. Micro means very small, like 2.5 centimeters to 4.5 centimeters. These have been named so because they had been given geometrical shape and they are not more than 4.5 centimeters in length. They had used more alabaster and a little of kahanda stones to make them. So alabaster and kahanda had been used to make geometric microstone tools, not the large. Mostly non-geometric stone tools were used. Non-geometric microstone tools were made mostly. They had been made for cutting, chopping, scratching, and digging. Apart from these, some tools such as hammers and grinding stones had been made using granite. So if you want, even a fourth heading can be given. That's about the rituals of prehistoric men. Rituals means burials, how the dead bodies are removed. So that's known as rituals. Okay. Rituals can be observed to a certain extent regarding the burials of dead bodies. Such an instant could be evidence from Ravana Ella caves. In the skull found from their rough edges and parts protruded outside had been rubbed and leveled and painted with brown stones red in color. Even several parts of skeletons painted with red color brown stones have been discovered from Pahiyangala. Skeletons discovered in the cave called Batadamba Villanbedi Palace in Kuruvita has been curled and buried, right? So now see here, actually in the theory part we have not gone to these rituals. So I'm going to rituals in the theory part. I'm not going to just discuss it now. I'm giving time to complete the blanks. So after that, we will go to theory part once again and discuss about these burials. That means how they remove the dead bodies. Just complete the blanks. So here I have given you four headings, right? So not only three, four headings. Even rituals you can take as a separate heading. This is only about the Stone Age man. So Stone Age man, they cannot ask any other thing. This is the only thing that they can ask. But remember, exactly they are asking a question about the Stone Age man. So that's a definite question. So when you refer past papers, you can see definitely they are asking one question at least about this Stone Age man in second paper. So after writing this, once again we go for the second theory part. So first theory part I have discussed up to the end of the Stone Age man. Then we have to move on to the Proto-Historic man and their lifestyle and their rituals and burials and all those things. Then we are moving to the third part. Third part is related to the settlements, how they settled as small villages. That part we are moving. So here in this lesson we have three major parts: the Stone Age man, Proto-Historic man, and the settlements. So early historic time period. So when you complete those three sections, the lesson is over. Even the questions are asked according to that. So that means the questions are asked from the first section, from Stone Age man's section 1, and then they may ask a question from the settlement part, early historic time period. But sometimes now, however, two questions are given. Two questions means two parts of one question. Second question, two parts. That's okay. Normally a question is having four sections: part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. First one is a short question with you have to write the answer with three words. And the second part is also small, that two sentences. Like the third one is explanation. You have to write under two headings. The fourth part comes as a to write under three headings. Okay. So then explanation. Right. So now shall we move on to the other one? the theory part once again. Right. So we discussed from here. Right. So then this is the height of the Stone Age man of Sri Lanka. Grown male 174 centimeters, a grown female 166 centimeters, right? So a brain, grown male, they had a brain volume like 1600 cubic centimeters, and a grown female 920 cubic centimeters. Their lifespan was very short, like within 35 to 40 years, they were dying. So that is the maximum life. So these things may come for MCQs, not as essay type questions. And evidences the funeral rites. So I told you that the funeral rites I am discussing here. So what are the funeral rites here? Mainly these evidences had been discovered from Ravana L. The skull that had been discovered from Ravana L uh, perforated, dividing it into two. So that means it has been divided by using a kind of something that has struck onto that tent, had been divided. However, we can't take that as a habit or a kind of the burial method. The evidences, the rough edges and the parts protruded outside the skull had been rubbed, leveled, and one side of it had been painted with red color brownstone. So there's a method that they were doing. What is the method? So they are taking the skull. So that means dead bodies are buried. So dead bodies are buried. So after burying the dead bodies outside the cave, initially they were burying the dead body inside the cave, digging a small pit with a piece of horn or piece of stone, and then keeping the dead body and covering it with garbage. Here, once again, what they do, the dead bodies are buried outside the cave. Outside the cave, they were burying the dead bodies. The skeletons were brought back. The skeletons were brought back, and rough edges and protruded parts of the skull were rubbed against another stone. Now, what do? There are some protruded parts outside, and rough edges are there in the skull. So they are rubbing once again the skull against another stone and making them leveled and smooth. So this is having no use. This is not having any meaning, and this is not giving once again the life for that man, but that's a ritual, that's a habit. So they have done this one. After that, one side of the skull had been made uh, painted red in brown stone. So red, there are red color brown stones that they can find from the ground. They make it a kind of that grinding it, and after that they are painting the skull using that brown stones, and after that they are reburying them, these skeletons, in shallow pits around their settlement. So this is the funeral rite of Stone Age man. So that also you can write under the lifestyle, the funeral rites. So when we come to proto-historic time period, so what is proto-historic time period? When the Stone Age man of Sri Lanka was living in Sri Lanka, so they experienced a climatic change. Entire world had experienced a climatic change. So what is this climatic change? Normally the Stone Age men of Sri Lanka were living in the Ice Age. Entire world had been covered with ice, and in the Ice Age only they were living in Sri Lanka. The Ice Age ended. How the Ice Age ended? Entire world experienced a climatic change suddenly, not suddenly actually, with the time, the temperature had been risen. The temperature had been increased. When the temperature had been increased, when the temperature had been increased, some areas of the world became suitable for agriculture, like the South Asian regions, including Sri Lanka. They became suitable for agriculture because of that ending of the ice age, melting the ice and all. So that made suitable for agriculture. So that the people, they changed their lifestyle. How they changed their lifestyle? Starting of agriculture. Agriculture had been started using permanent settlements. When they started agriculture, they can't roam, they can't go from place to place, they had to stay one place. Initially they were using outside fertile river valleys. Fertile river valleys had to be used for agriculture, but they can't settle in river valleys because of the regular floods. So outside the river valleys they had made their settlements. That is known as sedentism, one word for using permanent settlement. Using burnt clay pots, to cook something that they produce in agriculture, they had to use burnt clay pots. So they made clay pots and they started burning it, otherwise they can't use it. And they started using metallic implements, especially iron had been discovered, and using iron they started making implements, and iron implements were better than the stone implements, so they started using iron. So that's why we call it this age as Proto-Historic Iron Age or New Iron Age. Even they started adopting proper burials. Proper burials means what? They started burning dead bodies. Burning dead bodies were not there during the time of Stone Age, only burying the dead body, right? So these were the changes, main changes in the lifestyle. This is very important for questions. They are asking what are the changes experienced in the lifestyle when moving from Stone Age to Proto-Historic time period. This is the agricultural time period. So the major reason for this change, I told you, a climatic change. So what is the climatic change? So this time period we call as from 7000 to 4500 BC. From 7000 to 4500 BC, this is known as Holocene era. Within the Holocene era, what happened? At the end of the Ice Age, a suitable environment was created for agriculture due to the increase of temperature in the world. So these evidences related to this time period can be seen from two areas from Sri Lanka. One is northeastern part of Sabaragamuwa province and southwestern part of Uva province. So this also had been asked as a question, short question once in a past paper. In Sri Lanka, from what places the evidences had been seen, can be seen about starting of agriculture. Starting of agriculture had been evidented from Sri Lanka from two places. What? Northeastern part of Sabaragamuwa and southwestern part of Uva. So this is an answer. So however, Ice Age ended and snow melted, and some areas like South Asia became suitable for agriculture. So then we started agricultural time period or the proto-historic time period in Sri Lanka. So I told you about the changes of the burials. Changes of the burials means what? How the burial methods were changed, how the removal of dead bodies had been changed. Early method was what? During the Stone Age, only burying, only burying. Burning of the dead bodies had been started. But initially, at the beginning, we can see both burying and burning had been done. Both burying and burning had been done. So clay tub burials. So clay tub burials, urn burials, cist burials. These are the three types of burials that they experienced during proto-historic time period. So clay tub burials means the dead bodies were buried outside as usual as they have done in Stone Age. Then after keeping the dead body for some times, the remainings were there. So what are the remainings? The skeletons. The remainings were cremated. Now these remainings they have brought back. How they were cremated? Cremated means burnt. How they were burnt? In a raw clay basin. So initially when I show you some of the pictures I have shown you, so a kind of burial. So that's a kind of basin. A kind of basin like something had been made with raw clay. It is a clay basin, clay pot we call. So inside that they burn these skeletons and the remainings. After burning their remainings, no, that remainings are kept in clay pots because now they were using clay pots. These clay pots they deposit inside the clay tub, and entire clay tub is buried. So normally, actually, for one person, they are not making a clay tub. They use the same clay tub for 4-5 people. When they use the same clay tub to cremate the skeletons of 4-5 people, they can't use it once and over and over again, because it may be cracked. When it is cracked, like all the clay pots belonging to 5 people or 6 people had been kept inside the clay pot and clay tub, and entire clay tub had been buried underground. These types of clay tub burials can be seen from Nikavalamulli in Ruwanvela and Kalautuav in Attanagala. So this is a very big question once again. The second question that they can give you related to this lesson. They may ask you to explain 3 types of burials belonging to proto-historic time period. So then you must write clay tub burials and explain like this under a paragraph. Urn burials means in urn burials there's no any burying, only burning is there. Entire dead body was burned. But in the clay tub burials, they buried the dead body initially. Then after decaying, they have brought back the skeletons and the skeletons are burned. But here in urn burials, entire dead body was cremated. Entire dead body was burnt. The remainings once again were kept in clay pots and the clay pots were buried underground. Clay pots were buried underground. Dead body was not buried. So that's known as urn burials. About urn burials, evidences we could not find from many places. Because of that, we can't write anything about that. So evidences. Cis burials means once again the extension of these urn burials. The dead bodies were cremated, remainings were kept in clay pots, and clay pots were deposited in graves made with stone splinters. Now here the clay pots were just buried. But here the clay pots were not just buried and they were deposited in properly prepared graves. These graves were made with stone splinters. They were not so big. Inside the grave, they were keeping the clay pot, and after that, they were covering the grave with a very large stone slab. So the evidences are found from Galsohon Kanatin Yapawa, Ibban Katua burial, and Yatigal Potha burial. Now I think we can move on to once again a question. So we'll see a question in your question tute here. Right. So we'll go to this one. Burials of Proto-Historic Men. So there you can see. I think the third question. As A4 I have given burials of Proto-Historic Men. Find out the place. I think we are jumping from one to the other one. Okay. So we have discussed the first question. The second question we kept and jumped on to this one. So clay tub burials, according to dating, clay tub burials are the oldest. They were made using raw clay in the shape of a clay basin. After selecting the appropriate clay type, the walls of the tomb had been made perpendicularly to the ground using proper measurements like the width and the height. Some holes had been made or a clay tube had been fixed for the ventilation. Normally, when you are burning these skeletons inside a clay tub, there's a problem with the oxygen supply. So oxygen supply must be there. Early man, they knew that for burning air it was needed. So for ventilation, they were keeping some holes in the wall of the clay tub, even sometimes fixing a clay tube to get the oxygen or the air. So clay tub burials were found from Nicola Mulla into Anvalan, Kalotuavi, Nathanagal. So like that, you can write a paragraph. The second type is urn burials. These burials are regarded as megalithic burials. In this method, dead bodies were cremated and the remainings of the burnt dead bodies were kept in a clay pots. These clay pots were buried underground. The time period of these burials are not properly determined. So this only small something we can write about the urn burials, right? Sometimes they have asked an MCQ like this. What is the evidence to show that early man had the knowledge that air was needed for burning? So what is the evidence? Clay tub burials, because they have kept some holes for ventilation or fixing a clay tube for ventilation, right? Okay, complete the small three blanks. Small three blanks complete. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Cis burials. These burials were even belonging to megalithic burials. In this method, also dead bodies were burnt, the remainings were deposited in clay pots. These clay pots were deposited in properly prepared burials where walls had been made mounted with stone splinters. After depositing clay pots, they were covered with stone slabs. Evidences are found from Ipan Katua megalithic burial, Galsohon Kanatin Yapawa, Galsohon Yatigal Potha burial in Galeville. Okay, complete the blanks quickly. So this is a possible question. Explain three types of burials of proto-historic men. So this under three headings now then. The three headings are clay top burials, urn burials, and cyst burials. Now we have discussed two possible questions that may come. I told you we are discussing four possible questions, but out of these four, three are very, very important. So regularly coming questions. Out of these three, two will be exactly coming. The wording may be different. How the question may be given is different, but the answer is the same. According to the question, you have to write the answer. Okay, now once again, we'll move on to the theory part. From there, so we discuss burials, then right. So nature of the settlements, right? So they settled permanently. Due to the starting of agriculture, man needed to be settled in fertile river valleys, but initially they were not using fertile river valleys as I told you. Why they were not using fertile river valleys initially? Because if they constructed their houses in fertile river valleys were regularly flooded. So if they were flooded, if they construct their houses in fertile river valleys, their settlements may be regularly destroyed. So these evidences are found from, so remainings of a house that they have constructed had been found from Udaranchamadama settlement. So Udaranchamadama settlement is very, very important. So you have to keep in your mind that is the place where you are given evidences about early construction of houses. So we have found ruins of a house constructed in Udaranchamadama settlement. So there are very important two features that you can see in this house. A strong foundation is laid with striving large stones to prevent sinking. So they had the knowledge that a strong foundation is needed to prevent sinking the entire house. How they made this strong foundation? By using large stones, laying large stones. On that they have applied clay. On that only they have constructed walls of the house. How the walls had been constructed? Walls of wattle walls. What do you mean by wattle walls? Now, not like in the present, they were not using any bricks. Instead of bricks, they were using only mud balls. How to keep these mud balls on one on another? That cannot be done. No. For that, they were using what? A kind of wooden frame. So first, they erect a wooden frame on the foundation. In the wooden frame, they fix mud balls. Such walls are known as wattle walls. So what are wattle walls? Wattle walls are the walls made in a wooden frame. So erecting a wooden frame, fixing mud balls. So that's a wattle wall. These wattle walls were constructed perpendicularly to the ground. So that's their knowledge about the technology. So they knew that when the walls were constructed perpendicularly, no problem, they are not falling. Otherwise, they are falling. So these are the two main features that we can see in the houses of Stone Age man, not the Stone Age, Proto-Historic man. They had a strong foundation for their houses and they were using wattle walls constructed perpendicularly. A number of potsherds were discovered inside the house. In this Udaranchamadam house, we have discovered some potsherds. Potsherds means pieces of a pot. Now, this pot had been made using a simple machine. So, how we know that it was made using a simple machine? When painting the clay pot, now after making the clay pot, it was burnt. After burning the clay pot, it was painted. How it was painted? Red lines in white background. These red lines were that parallel to each other. So parallel lines means what? Actually, parallel lines cannot be painted on a clay pot if they are not using the potter's wheel. By using the potter's wheel only, you can paint parallel lines. So these red lines were really parallel. Even they did hunting, because they did not abandon hunting. Even though they started agriculture, they needed some flesh to eat, so they did hunting. And even bones of animals that had been found from the kitchen of the Udarancha Madam house, that shows that they did hunting. And they did beauty culture. Even the women in that time period, they did beauty culture. There were few clay beads, so they were using clay beads as a chain. The chains they were the using. An iron stick used to apply coal on the lady's eyes. So they were applying coal. Coal means a black color, something to color the lady's eyes. So two brown stones. Why two brown stones? So they were making a brownstone cream and applying on the skin of the ladies. So maybe to become fairer. So two grinding stones to rub on the brown stones. So brown stones had been rubbed on a stone and making a cream like and applying on the skin. So even they did beauty culture. So these things come under lifestyle of proto-historic man, right? So then we'll come to this one. And iron is a strong, as iron is a strong metal, they were using iron implements. The iron implements could be used to clear jungles, digging the ground and plowing easily. And their construction technology, we know that the houses they have made with strong foundations and wattle walls, and they were making clay beads. With clay they were making beads. And however, this time period we call as early historic time period. Now when we come to end of the proto historic time period, it's the early historic time period. So however, they settled in fertile river valleys, even though they did not go to erect their houses in the river valley because of floods. But however, in every settlement they had a tank. Why? Otherwise they cannot store water. As they were not gone to very close to river valleys, they had to construct a tank in their village to store water. And factors that contributed in finding settlements here. Now when we come to Stone Age, only three things they used to three needs they considered to make a settlement: water, food, and stones. But here they wanted red brown soil. During the proto-historic time period, they wanted red brown soil. Why? To do agriculture. And rate of annual rainfall. Without rainfall, they can't do any agriculture. Red brown soil, annual rainfall, and the geographical background. That means in mountains, they can't construct their houses, because constructing houses, they were not using any natural caves. With considering these three things only, four things only, they have selected the place to erect their houses: red brown soil, availability of red brown soil, annual rainfall, geographical background, and expansion of natural resources. However, they selected the dry zone mainly because wet zone was full of rain, 9 months raining, then they can't survive. Even in the dry zone, so this is also MCQ, they selected what zone initially? Dry zone, because dry zone was suitable for agriculture, less rainfall, but ample rainfall. Sometimes it's raining, most of the time it's dry, and having red brown soil and having plains, proper geographical background to live. So these areas receive water from monsoon rain and small streams. So dry zone mainly they have used. So why they did not select river valleys? So they did not select river valleys. I told you river valleys were continuously flooded. And water received through the rain, they stored in where? In tanks they constructed in the villages. So controlling floods, they have done it. People started constructing dams across the river valleys, rivers. above floodplains and make very big tanks. So how they control floods later on, when they came to the time period of the kings, they started learning how to construct dams across rivers, and excess water was collected in tanks and making very big tanks. Now this is not the village tanks. Village tanks they constructed to store some water for the need of the village. Large tanks were constructed across rivers to store excess water, and then they control floods, and that excess water had been used during the dry period, right? So however, we'll go to these settlements after once again completing a question. Now this is the question. The second question I will go to complete the, right, so this one. Now this is right, technology we discussed. So now we'll discuss this one. Proto-historic man. So in proto-historic man, nature of the settlements of proto-historic period. Here's second question, right? People abandoned their hunting livelihood and built permanent settlements. Major evidence related to housing is remnants of houses that have been discovered from Mudaranchamadam settlement in Ratnapura district. Now here you can see the structure of that found house, size 10.2 meters into 6.8 meters. This is the size of the found house. That you can't say every house is in this size, but the structure was same. Shape is rectangular shape. Foundation made with striving large stones and applying clay on it. Walls, wattle walls and wattle and dove walls. So that is how we call it. Wattle and dove. Wattle and dove with means so erecting a wooden frame, and mud balls had been fixed in that, and perpendicularly to the ground, and roof thatched with iluk. Rooms, there are two rooms in the house, front room and rear room. Front room was an open room. Why we call it as an open room? Short walls, that means during the daytime they are just living in the front room with short walls, and rear room with high walls. Night normally they are using the rear room. Only two rooms are there, and kitchen was a hut at the back of the house. Okay, so this is what nature of the settlement, the housing. Okay, I'm giving a small time to complete this one. So this is the question that we missed. We jumped over this and came to the third question, burials, but this is the second one. So we'll try to complete 4 questions, because then only that my lesson is completed. So even my attempt is completed. So you are getting the maximum use when we complete this one. The last question, fourth question, is the most important. So the last question is the most important. So then after writing this, we'll go to that one. So that is the most important question that we will discuss. So sometimes I'm taking further 15 minutes more, like 5:45 up to 5:45, and finishing everything. Okay, quickly complete this one. So this question is having the least probability. Regarding proto-historic man, normally they are giving questions very rarely. The most I will give you, after completing 4 questions, I will tell you what question is having the highest probability, second highest, third, and the fourth line. So this is the fourth, that means the last probability. So the very less probability of coming about the proto-historic man. without wasting time, we'll go to the move on to the next one then. So I told you that if anyone is missed, you just can go to the YouTube channel and download this and complete it later on. Even if there's any place that is not clear, here once again you can listen to this and get it clearly. If anyone is having any question, like, or you can just personally, you can send me a message through WhatsApp asking the question. So even that we have started grandpa's class physically this month, but still that corona class had not been started. So if anyone likes to join them, you can just join. That grandpa's class is on Monday, and the corona class is on Thursday. So we'll move on to this one. Lifestyle of Proto-Historic Men once again. In Uranchamadam house built around 3121 years ago, a number of potsherds were discovered. Many were painted potsherds according to the manner in which lines in pots that were painted. It might be made by using potter's wheel. I told you that it's the evidence to show that it had been made with potter's wheel. The lines had been parallelly painted. Several tools in the kitchen were found. Some were stone tools and some iron tools. Using iron tools had been a new experience. Bones found from the house show that although they got used to an agricultural lifestyle, they did not completely abandon hunting. Few clay beads and an iron stick used to apply color on ladies' eyes, 2 brown stones used to color the body, and 2 grinding stones to rub the brown stones had been found. That is about the beauty culture of the women. That show that the women were living during that period were interested in beautifying their body. Okay, complete the blanks quickly. There are 4 blanks only. So the lifestyle. So we talked about the housing. Now here we write about the lifestyle. Even the burials, it is another heading. Burials. So yeah, actually we are completing one lesson within two hours. That's a very difficult task. So here we go with a kind of speed. So actually this is good for a person who had the lesson in the school or in the class and for a revision. But for a person that who is going to initially learn this lesson, this is not good, right? So because we are going in a considerable speed to complete the lesson within 2 hours. So in the normal class, normally we don't go this fast. Sometimes to complete this lesson, we take like 4 days, right? Okay, so then we'll come to technology of Proto-Historic Man. Beginning of the metal technology and making clay pots can be regarded as the new technology adopted in this era. As a result of using iron, they could do their day-to-day activities efficiently because iron was a very strong metal. They could do clearing jungles, digging the ground easily. Iron was a strong metal and could use in clearing forest and the ground. The painted clay pots found from Udaranchamadam show the high technological standard of making clay pots. The clay bead found shows the technology of making beads existed. They have used a high and advanced technology in building houses, setting the foundation in a way that sinking does not happen and building walls perpendicular to the ground. So that also technology. So when they came to this proto-historic time period, they had an advanced technology, advanced technological knowledge when compared to a Stone Age. In the Stone Age, actually only the stone tools were there to show their technological knowledge. But here there are many things: iron tools, clay pots, clay beads, even how the walls had been constructed, even how the foundation had been laid. We complete that one. So this is the question having the least probability. So you just mark it as this question is having least probability. So that is the question about the proto-historic man. Then what question is having the most probability for coming this year actually? So the last question. So that's about the settlements. It is having the highest probability. And the first question that we discussed about the Stone Age man, the second highest probability. Burials, third probability, and this is having the least probability. That's the order. Settlements of early historic era, the last question that we are going to discuss is having the highest probability. So you can mark it as four star marks. Then the lifestyle of Stone Age man, the question we discussed first, second highest probability, 3 star marks. Then the burials, 3 types of burials, the third probability. So that is 2 star marks, and this question only 1 star mark because very less probability of coming as a question. So burials, we discussed this one, cis clay tub burials, urn burials, and cis burials. So this is having the third highest probability. So now we have only one question to go, and even we go for the theory part for that question. So then my work is over for the day. I told you this is actually rushing through a lesson, not that teaching very slowly. So in a normal physical class or normal in that online class, we don't do like this. We go very slowly. So here, this is a seminar. Seminar means actually a revision. For the people who had studied the lesson, revision is needed. Revision is useful. For the people who had not studied anything, actually a revision has no use. So because of that, here this is a revision. I know many of the students who had joined my online lessons and physical classes have come to this revision session, and they know that this is advantageous within 2 hours revising once again, very important section. So then even the questions, I'm introducing questions. So in a normal lesson, normally this won't happen, and we go just slowly. Sometimes to study this lesson, we take like 4 days. Within 4 days only, very slowly we study. Never mind. So now we have come to the last section, last part of the theory part. So these settlements. So normally I told you that in every village there was a tank, village tank. So such a village was known as a Vapigam. So what's a Vapigam? A Vapigam are the settlements which spread in the area outside overflowing river valleys by being centralized on a small tank. So when there's a village with a tank, we call it as a Vapigam. For the Vapigama, we give a name, Sumana Vapigama, Hundari Vapigama, Kadaha Vapigama. So normally, this is a cross section of a small village tank. This is the rain-fed area. So when the rain, this is absorbing rainwater and release into the tank, and this is the tank, and this is the tank bund. From this tank bund, water is released to the paddy field. So, however, there were different types of settlements. We know that one village was separated from the other by a jungle belt. Now we can't see any division between villages. One village was adjacent to the other one. Some settlements or different types of professionals lived. In some settlements, some different professionals were living. They were all the people in the village. They were doing the same economic activity. They were producing something same. Some examples: Kasikaragama. In Kasikaragama, everyone they were living by doing agriculture. They were farmers. They were doing agriculture. So the village had been named after their profession. Kasikaragama. Manikaragama, villages where people worked in gem mines. So gem cutters and gem miners are living in Manikaragama. Everyone they do the same thing. So people who lived in Kasikaragama, they produce agricultural products, and people who lived in Manikaragama, they had gem products. Those products they have exchange. So when we come to once again Kasikaragama, village of farmers, Manikaragama, village of gem cutters and gem workers, Gopalagama, villages where cowards living. That means shepherds were living. All they were rearing cows. They were producing milk products. And Kevatagama, fishermen were living in Kevatagama. Their production is catching fish. Kumbhakaragama villages where potters were living. All the people in the village, they were making pots. Now people in Kumbhakaragama, they go to the Kasikaragama and they take food items from these farmers, and these farmers, they take the product of Kumbhakaragama pots to them. So that's how the economy had been settled. Then some of Vadakigama means villages where carpenters were living. So carpenters were living in Vadakiga. So then some settlements were actually located nearby. So now these people were providing services. Pattanagama, people in Pattanagama, it's a village situated close to harbors, and all they were providing some services needed to this harbor. Niamgama was a trading village, so all the people in Niamgama, they were providing a service to the trade activities. So they sometimes, maybe the Niamgam people, they are bringing the products of the other people to their village and they are selling it to big traders. Olagam means some villages around tanks and deserted by people. Why they deserted this village? No people in Olagam. Maybe sometimes they have experienced a disease like corona. They could not control. There was no medicine. The only thing that they can do is what? The infected people were kept in the village and they move on to another village. So the infected people dies and the village had become vacant now. So maybe that land in that village had become infertile, cannot do agriculture. So the people, they left the village and they move to another place. So Alaga. Villages are established according to the abundance of natural resources. Size of a small village is normally not more than 0.15 hectares. 5 to 6 families always living here. Only 5 to 6 families were living. Not more than 5 to 6 families, but the maximum maybe 30. Maybe 30 family living in one small village. And this is a structure of a village. Now see here. This is the village. Few families, few houses, 5, 6 houses are here. You can see even some houses are bigger, some houses are smaller. These are the paddy fields belonging to them. So all they are having a paddy field here. And this is the rain-fed tank. This is providing water to these paddy fields. This is the areas where they do chain cultivation. So like that. So this is a structure of a small village. So normally urban settlements are cities. They were different. More than 35,000 people are living. The size was more than 2 hectares. They are very big, like Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa. And commonly they were called Pura. So they were known as Pura. So Anuradhapura, Magampura. So initial 2 cities in Sri Lanka, Magampura and Anuradhapura. So however, Parikitagam. What is a Parikitagam? Those villages that were protected by a fence, when they have erected a fence around the village to protect the village, it's known as a Parikitagam. Then what is an Aparikitagam? If there's any no fence around the village, it's known as an Aparikitagam. And Pura means large urban settlements. Pura Kamat means the main architect in the city. So for every city, there's an architect. He's planning, he's designing the city. So he was known as Pura Kamat. And Nurupura means the name given to Anuradhapura in Panakado Copper Plate. Panakado Copper Plate is a source that gives information about the childhood of King Vijayabhua I. So this is Panakado Copper Plate. You can see that Panakado Copper Plate. Right. So village administration was done by village leader. Every family was having a family leader. One of the family leaders becomes the village leader. Family leader was known as Grahapati. The village leader was known as Gamika. Right. And Dasagamathan means 10 village headmen, they got together and they formed a council to administrate the entire village system that's known as Dasagamathan. Kaludiyapokuna inscription is one of the sources that give information about Dasagamathan. So this is Kaludiyapokuna inscription. See, Kaludiyapokuna inscription. So it gives information about Dasagamathan. Right. So now we'll go to the question, the last question. Right. So we'll go to the last question here. It is about the nature of the settlements. I told you this is the question having the highest probability. So we'll complete this one. Rural settlement. So normally when they are giving this question, this has come for past papers majority of the times. So normally they are giving this one to write under three headings. So then we are taking three headings: rural settlements, villages. The early historical period was between 450 BC and 300 AD. In the historical period, majority of the settlements existed mainly close to a tank. The settlements which developed themselves around a tank are referred to as Vapigam. One village was separated from the other by a strip of jungle. Some settlements where different types of professionals lived in have been mentioned in historical chronicles. Now we don't write all six. We have six examples, but we are writing only three. Kasigaragam, a village of farmers; Gopalagam, a village of shepherds; Kumbhakaragam, a village of potters. Apart from this, there were several villages existed on the basis of tasks. Then here we have three, no? So three we are writing. Pattanagam, village by a port; Niamgam, a trading village; Olagam, deserted tank village. A small scale villages was normally not more than 0.15 hectares. Normally they are lived 5 to 6 families. You see, all the information we have included in this answer. And about 30 families lived in some large scale village. Parakitagam means a village protected by a fence. Aparikitagam, a village not protected by a fence. Okay, complete that one. So one we wrote. So we can finish this session at 5:45 because some they have to break the fast even like 6:20. So they have to get ready. So then we have another two more sections here. So complete these blanks, then we can go to the second and third parts. So remember, today I have done what actually something very difficult, that covering up one lesson of grade 10 within 2 hours. So that's a difficult task. So I might have gone a bit fast. So sorry for that if anyone got any difficulty of catching. So in a normal lesson, normally we don't go this much fast. Normally we just go slowly and make you understanding. Even here I can't see you, even I can't feel you, even I don't know how your levels are. So according to your levels, only the physical class or the other normal classes are scheduled. Remember here I wanted to introduce how the questions are coming. Now history is challenging. Some people might think that only that by hearting the textbook you can write answers. No, it's challenging. The questions are given in different ways. So different type questions you have to answer. So when then you have, for that you have to be guided. You have to learn it how to write answers. Someone has to guide you to write answers. Otherwise you can't get maximum marks for history. History is not something very difficult, it's very easy actually. So when you are guided properly, when you are just when you are showed the proper path, it's not something very boring or uninteresting or difficult. Okay, complete these blanks. I'm giving some times because here in this one we have bit more blanks, right? So the rural settlements means villages. Then we have intermediate settlements and urban settlements. But in the textbook, they are not giving that much of information about the intermediate settlements. But in the exam, they are given to write under three headings. So then you have to think and write. Some additional knowledge is needed to write answers in the history paper. The information given only by the textbook is not enough. And even more practice should be there, like maths, writing answers, marking maps. It should need some practice. Okay, then moving to the next one. Medium scale settlements. What are medium scale settlements? There were settlements larger than a village and smaller than a city. They were called as Nakara or Nagara. These settlements were normally located at a gap. So, no, what is a gap? So, normally from the low country to hill country, when you move, you have to go through a gap. Gap is a lowland in between two mountain ranges. To the gap only you have to go in. So that's the place where normal routes are located, and that's the place where these Nakara or Nagara medium scale settlements are located. So then these settlements were normally located at gaps where hill country and low country joins. They were mostly used for trade activities. So many travelers are there. For the use of the travelers, they were using them as trading villages. Village products and things from cities were exchanged. Few shops or a fair could be seen in these settlements. Traders from cities usually visited these settlements. Large urban settlements is the third one, no? So that villages, that means small settlements, and medium scale settlements and large urban settlements. They were larger than 2 hectares in size. There's a population about 35,000. Usually rich Parumaka families and traders were living. Parumakas were the regional rulers. They have migrated to cities for their comfort, and they were living in these large urban cities. For the comfort of them, urban components were developed. Some urban components were protective walls, parks, road networks, and trade centers. These settlements were called Pura. We know that the two initial Pura, Anuradhapura and Magampura. Anuradhapura city was called by the name Nurupura in Panakado Copperplate. First two cities in our country were Anuradhapura and Magampura. They were, they were they were due to the development of large and small harbors located around this country. The main architect of the city was called Purakam. So I told you there was a designer for the Pura. There was a designer for the city. He was known as Purakamudha. The city administrator was called by the name Nagaragutika. Nagaragutika post had been started in Sri Lanka by Kimpandukabe. So he was the city administrator. Okay, complete the notes there. So a small number of blanks are there. So from this question the tute will be finished. Now here in the tute I have given you the most possible 4 questions or all the questions that can be given from this lesson to the any of the question paper, like for even for a term test, even for O level, these are the 4 questions that can be given. Other than these 4 questions, nothing can be given. Then I gave you the probability of coming these questions, like the highest probability for this last question, the second highest probability for the first question that we discussed about the Stone Age men. Then the third probability is having for the burials, the 3 types of burials, and the least probability for the second question, like that I told. So now you try for any of the term test or any past paper, question paper, or anything, and see whether these are the these are the questions that have come or not. So then you can just compare this tute with the past paper questions or the term test paper questions, or in sometimes in some of the test papers that you're going to be having. Study and go and see whether you can write answers nicely and properly. Okay, so now, however, so this is the last question that we discussed. So as I told you initially, within a short period of time like this, this is the only amount that we can do. As I told you that only this is this is how we have to do, because within 2 hours only this much we can do. We are going a little bit fast because of this limited time period that I have been given. So however, I think you got something, and you just have got the understanding about the second lesson, and how you have got understanding about how the questions are given. So I think this is the time to stop the free seminar. So thank you for joining, and even I thank you, Hilmi sir, for giving me such an opportunity to address you as well as to be introduced to you. So, however, the second lesson completely I have finished, and the questions I have introduced. And if anyone wants to join for the physical classes, they can come for grand pass class or the Colonava class. Even that there are some students who are just coming now even here. And thank you very much for joining to this free seminar. So we are going to wind up the seminar. Okay, thank you very much
Students, if
and good
anyone
evening.
wants to join the Grandpa's branch or Corona branch or online classes, okay, just drop me a
Yes,
message,
online
Baba.
classes.
Drop me a message. I'll send you the timetable and the fees also. Okay, so I'll finish the session.